I'm Barbara. I live on Mandalay Road. My question has been asked and answered. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Thank you. 16.
I'm 14.
Oh. 14.
I'm really happy that you're so happy.
Thank you.
But do you live here in this area?
I don't.
No, I don't.
It's here.
And my concern is the visual light of the height of that one building. And is it necessary to go 19 lower? I mean, it's like a giant wart visually in your view. It's nice you're worried about the shadows, but when we look out into our open space now, we're going to be seeing this vertical. All of us that live around here, that's what we're going to be seeing. That is not Rockridge. And that will encourage more tall ones. Your developers can do it, someone else is going to do it, and there it goes. That is not Rockridge.
19?
You're at 16.
16.
16.
You said 16% low income.
I say, oh, 6.
Excuse me, you said 6%. I heard that. Are affordable. Does that include the artist space as the affordable, or is it the tower that's
Well, it's 6% of all of the housing units. And it's all the artists, 100% of the artists' apartments are affordable, deeply affordable.
And what % will that be of the 6%?
Well, it's 100% of the 6%.
Okay, so the affordable part is the artist section, not the tower.
Correct.
My name is Tom. I live in Jackson Street. I understand you have looked at various concepts. Have you looked at making that tall building with 2 10-story buildings?
What's that one? 2 10-story buildings.
Can you repeat the question?
Have we thought about making 2 10-story buildings instead of one 19-story building?
Yeah. Around the back, even the back of the site.
Yeah, so
It's a wall.
yeah, so we have looked at what would happen if we increased the height either at the back or at this edge, and then decreased the height of this piece. But the way the tower's placed at the moment, what we're trying to do is we're basically like, you're kind of the sun in the audience now, right? This is true north. So as the sun moves around, we're trying to keep as much light coming into this central space as possible. So if we increase height on this side, then that would increase the shading onto that open space. At the same time, we're trying to pull the height as close to the middle of the site as possible so that it has less impact on the surrounding areas. So what we've been doing with the height is trying to balance this location to basically try and find that sweet spot where it impacts the least amount of other things. And the other thing is, like, whenever these buildings, to get a little bit technical, there's different classification of building types when you construct them. Once you go above 85 feet, there's a whole different level of fire safety and requirements that actually drive up the cost of the construction. So it's economically, it works out best if you can keep the height to 85 feet, but if you go over it by a bit more than that. So to have 2 that are just over 85 feet doesn't usually work in the same.
Have you talked to the geotechnical engineer about supporting a 9-story building versus a 12-story building or 10-story building?
Yeah, well,
a dry pile on the bedrock. Yeah.
As Mark mentioned, luckily or unluckily, depending if you're trying to go down or up, this is a quarry, so we've got really good, stable soil.
And we are working with the geotechnical engineer.
You have to dry pile.
I don't think
This is probably going to be a mat slab onto the
I'm going to throw this on, but we're happy to talk with you after, but we've got a lot of people and we want to give due time. So let's go on to 18.
18?
Susan from Boyd Avenue. What is the current zoning? Have you gotten it rezoned? What's the neighborhood zoning for height?
This would be what is the current zoning? What is the neighborhood zoning? Are we doing a rezoning? Have we done it? it. This is, we're going to make an application for rezoning. It's like a 30-foot height. It's a campus use. So it's a general plan amendment. It's a total change. Yeah. 20.
There you are, 19.
19.
Alex from Brian Tappan. So at the current time, the height zoning is what for
I
Rockridge?
think it's 30 for part of it and 35 for another part.
Just for this site,
Yeah.
for Rockridge in general, for this site, Rockridge is saying it's 30 feet, it's zoned for institutional use. So to do anything like this, new residential, we need to change that. So that's the application that we're making, the city, to study in the EIR. There's a change. To really, it's a change. We're not trying to say we could build this under the existing zone.
So therefore, are they going to, as the city, the neighborhood of Rockridge, and let us give our opinion, being in our neighborhood, to prevent something like this and change the whole character of our neighborhood?
Well, there is a process. That's what we're beginning, right? And so we've been, these meetings for the past 2 years are part of it, but there's a formal process that's just beginning. The city's going to ask, what do you want to study? And it's going to be a focus, there's going to be a scoping of the EIR. Then there's going to study it, and then there's going to be lots of comment on that. Then there's actually going to be the real hearings at the Planning Commission and City Council. So there's going to be a lot of public venues for people to say, I live in Rockridge and I don't want 19 stories. You're going to have plenty of opportunity to say that. And there may be other people who say, we want housing and we like the project.
Mark, just clarify, EIR means?
Oh, yeah, Environmental Impact Report.
Okay, you're on 20.
20.
I'm curious, you talk about this engaging with the neighborhood and activating the spaces on the outside and the Clifton Art Walk. And you showed about the cafe space there at the intersection of Clifton and Broadway. What else, what other ground floor uses are you anticipating, and are there any spaces that would be like, I don't know if they're commercial or whatever, but somehow open in some way, or how does it look like when it hits the ground?
I'm going to give Mark a chance to talk. Sorry, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just about potential uses for the art space. The only designated space is the cafe, so it's 25,000 square feet of we'll see what use, but Mark has designed a lot of these spaces, so maybe he can talk about how it meets the street.
And please repeat what the issue is.
Hi, I'm Mark Jensen. The question was, what's the use of the arts activities along the street level, ground floor level? There's a cafe at the corner. The rest of it, as it wraps around Clifton to Broadway, is all art. So we have looked at artist studios, galleries, maker spaces, nonprofit spaces, theater, performing, lecture spaces. This is all in the mix right now. So it depends on which organization is going to step in to run this. But it won't be other retail spaces. It's going to be all arts related. That's the intent. So hopefully that's serving two things. It's a need for art space, but it's also a way to activate the pedestrian experience around it.
So Stu's giving me a signal of time. I know there were 8 other numbers. We want to stop there. Stu, how do you want to proceed?
If there's someone feels like have a really pressing question, you can please go ahead. If it can wait, or if it's not that pressing, you can talk to them afterwards. If it's a comment, please reserve it for the discussion. So of those remaining, are there other questions? Are there pressing questions that we haven't gotten to yet?
I got one. My name is Shabaka. I live on Coronado Street. I'd like to know what your plan B is in case you don't get the 19-story building.
Well, I think that was at the beginning where
No, seriously, I'd like to know what, I'm sure you've given thought to that, so I'd like to know what it is.
This is where we're at. We don't have a plan B. I mean, this is what we think is the best use of the site.
I can tell you from working with various developers is basically they usually will come in and say, this is what we're doing, and if they get turned down, then they think about what else we're going to put instead. And they won't tell you beforehand. The EIR will have alternatives, but they won't be their alternatives.
Stu, how do you want to do it?
Yeah, how do you
Say
want
half or more?
Okay, is this, who's already signed, who's already one of those, what, 26?
We have 5 more questions, but I think what we asked is that anybody has a burning question, they can
Yeah.
ask it. So I would just say 1, 2, then we'll go to public comment. I just want-
3. 1 through 3.
And the one thing I want to note is there are comment cards over there. We have stamps so you folks can mail them in.
Yeah,
There's also
if you
the
don't want to
website.
have the answer, don't need the answer tonight, you can put it on the card.
There's also a website on there that you can provide input as well.
Okay,
Sue and I
because
are
we're trying to
in
leave a little bit of room for discussion rather than just questions. Yeah.
I'm Jeff, I live on View Place, I'm CCA alum. Is there a way that this plan, which has got a lot of good stuff to it, can pencil out with a building half that tall?
Thank you.
Not right now. I mean, the open space probably goes. The whole idea of the community garden probably goes.
How does that
It probably gets walled off along Broadway.
Okay, the second question, you had a question?
Okay, I might be late to the party here, but who's owning the property? Does CCA still own the property?
They still do. At the end of this process, we have the option to purchase it from CCA.
Okay, so you would purchase it, develop it,
Yeah.
get the revenue from it.
Yes.
And who are, you are,
We're developers.
okay, so you're local?
San Francisco. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm concerned about the disaster of the Ridge when we have a non-local buyer and there's nothing happening there.
We've done.
We want someone from the community that will be here.
Yeah,
Make sure it's done.
Emerald Fund has built. We built more than 3,000 new homes in San Francisco. We've actually built more than 1% of the housing stock that exists today, not single family. We own and manage 2,000 units, so we're long-term. I mean, these decisions that we're planning for,
And your
we're
plan
going
is
to own it, and we're going to manage it, and it's going to be, so we're not buying it and flipping it or doing anything like that.
So I wanted to, first of all, thank you very much for bringing this. I really appreciate everyone to, come in, because I know the first 2 meetings I was at, we didn't have those street views of the site and of the tower, so thank you very much, because that really helps all of us make an informed decision. So that's great. That's awesome. And my question is really about the design of the urban garden. I went up there with my phone and did a little amateur surveying with my camera, and it seems that the reason why we have so much growth along, so many mature trees along Broadway, is if you cut them down, you basically have a 1-story view of the Wendy's parking lot. And if you look out, we don't see Alcatraz from, the top of the stairs. We actually see the top 4 stories of Merrill Gardens, the brick warehouse, for the agents that got put in. And then if we go to Mackey Hall, which is you have a lovely rendering of Alcatraz, I went, oh my gosh, can you really do that? And then if you go there and actually do a little bit of surveying, we actually are really only 1 story taller, so we're still seeing the top of Merrill Gardens. We're not seeing Alcatraz. So is your plan to raise Mackey Hall 2 stories to get that view?
10 stories.
Put
it on top of
Garden.
here.
No,
that's the real.
Otherwise, you're going to see
You
Wendy's.
can see our architectural plans. That is the real view
Yeah,
from
and I
that
can pass
spot.
that. You're going to really see Wendy's, the Wendy's sign from there. You are.
Yeah. These are real views. You can, I don't know. You can come to the architect's office and look at the models, but that's they are real grades, and they're this is where Angel Island is, and this is where Mackey Hall is.
So,
I'd like to know what the justification is for building 19 stories.
The gentrification. Justification. This whole thing, as I mentioned this is a whole package. We're seeing this whole thing, the 1.5 acres of the public open space, the artist housing, the artist workspace, the artist office space, and a lot of housing, including.
Well, what is the justification for building it that tall?
The justification was to make everything work. Numbers.
So I'm going to try and let's move. I'd like to move on to have some discussion.
One more. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
So I have one more question. My name's Ashley. I live on Boyd. And it kind of jumps along the lines of a couple questions were asked about the park space that we're going to have. And how do you plan to activate this public open space to the public, and not just people that live there?
Great question. Not about the tower. Yeah, these parks, it's not like if you build it, they will come. There has to be a real desire to go there. And so the Mackey Hall, the historic buildings that are in here are going to have to be programmed. The lobbies that they didn't talk about the other ground floor uses around here, but there's lobbies where people come in and out of the buildings. And so all those things are going to have to be, used and active just to have people in the park. Those are mostly going to be people that live and work there, and so it's going to require these guys to have active programs, to have things with the arts foundations and nonprofits that are using the other side of the building to come out and do art events out in that park, and to do, historically there were sketching classes that were out in there, and the artists would go out and do life drawings and stuff. It needs to be programmed, and the programming is part of the maintenance of the park, and we're working to advise these guys right now with some professionals that do programming and maintenance and management of parks, like Riverwind and Gardens in the city, that, it all requires extra effort, extra money, and it's all part of why the building has as much density as it does to afford to make all this stuff wonderful.
And we're going to try to make it as inviting as possible, make it visible, having you can see it from Broadway.
Okay. I'm going to move us on. We have only about 10 minutes left. So we are not going to be able to have much in the way of discussion. So I would like to get a little bit of, maybe some sense of a bit of what the feelings are on this group. And so I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I'm going to do 3 questions. The first question I'm going to ask, which is in terms of where you live. How many people here live within a quarter mile of the CCA campus? Okay, quarter mile.
Can you give us
okay. About 3 blocks, 3 or 4 blocks, yeah. Okay, so how many people live within a half mile? Okay. How many?
Between a quarter and a half?
Huh?
Between a quarter and a half?
Between a quarter and a half, yeah, between a quarter and a half. How many people live between a half mile and a mile from the site? Okay, how many people live more than a mile from the site?
How far is the mile?
A mile would get you. A mile would get you down to the other Safeway, to the College Ave Safeway.
Oh, and the site's a
So-
half mile roughly from Bart.
Yeah, it's about a little more than a half mile from Bart, and it's another 4/10 of a mile to the Safeway. Okay, the other question I want to ask is I'm going to ask you I'm going to give you 5 options here. And I'd like to get people's opinion of which of those 5 options. And I know you've just heard about this, so it's going to be new. But I'm going to ask you whether you strongly support this, support it but maybe with some reservations or concerns, strongly don't support, strongly oppose it but not too strongly, maybe because there's some counteracting, or you're either in the middle, have some pluses and minuses, or you haven't made your mind up yet. So let's start with those who strongly support this. How many people strongly support it? Okay. How many people sort of support it? Not that strongly. Okay. How many people are in the middle? How many people sort of oppose it? And how many people strongly oppose it? Okay, so we've got a range here. It's clear that there's a wide range of opinions here.
I think one of the questions should be about the tower, about the 19th
Well, let me, okay, how many people are perfectly okay with the 19 stories? Okay, how many people are perfectly not okay with the 19 stories?
What about taller?
People probably not going to push it, to be honest. They say they need 19 stories. Let's give them 19 stories. I don't think we want to give them 40.
It'll be a beautiful view from my house.
Look around. We're really having a discussion. You're asking questions. For example, we have a horrible housing crisis in our state, in our region.
Yep.
And so we need housing.
And then the question is, how do we do it? And that's why we're here. So, I mean, it's like, we all would love to live in a common...
Well, hold on. You are not running this meeting.
Okay. We have a discussion, and nobody...
I know, but we've got 5 minutes left or so. So we can't have a whole lot of discussion, and we can't have people doing 5-minute talks. So...
You're asking questions based on the discussion.
I'm trying to get some sense of where people are at.
Okay.
And do it quickly. And that's why I ask those questions. Now, let me just, how many people would like to make a comment? Okay. We've got about, I would say probably about 20 people who want to comment. We have 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. So we can't possibly, I mean, that gives you 30 seconds of comment. That's not really worth it.
Why not? Why not?
Let's try it.
Okay, we're going to give you 30 seconds. Go ahead.
My name is Felix. I've lived in Oakland since 1974. I'm a nurse. I have a good job, but I don't live in Rockridge because I can't afford it. And I'm excited
Your 30 seconds are up. Go on. You're up. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Greg. I live on Lawton Avenue with my family. I want to go to that public open space.
Okay.
And I'm willing to have more housing to support the retail we love on College Avenue.
Okay, you're done.
Totally 100% agree. I've lived in a community where there were 20-story buildings right next to single-family homes with less of a transition than this. It was also a streetcar suburb. It totally worked. It was a non-issue. No one even cared.
Okay, you're done. Yeah.
We need more artists. We love having art spaces, but we don't do anything to support the housing for them. They provide affordable housing for artists. And
Okay, that's enough.
Free.
Okay, go on.
Paul Bickmore, I live on Coronado. Less parking.
I live on Ocean View. I've lived here for 30 years, and when we moved in, all the stores along College Avenue actually had stores in them. I think we need higher density, actually, if we want to have that kind of atmosphere.
Leslie, I live on Coronado. We need density, we need more housing, but we need affordable housing. And I think that this 19-story building is a smokescreen. I think they're throwing it up there, proposing that people will be satisfied with 10, and 10 is still too small.
My name's Brad, and I don't live in Rockridge now, but I own a property here, and I hope to move here and be here by the time this is built. We need more housing. They're asking for a general plan amendment, and what communities get in order for cities to offer that are public benefits. They've offered a pretty robust package. If you think there needs to be more benefits, bring those comments to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm Ken again. I think one of your 5 questions was 6. How much would you support this if it wasn't a 19-story tower? And I think it would be a nice 8-story building.
My name's Alice Wood. I'm on Lawton. My main concern on a lot of this is how is this going to affect the local schools and fire departments and all the utilities that we all depend on?
Okay, that's something we'll be talking about.
I'm John. I live in Oakland. I think the housing crisis is a systemic region-wide problem. The solutions have to be systemic too. Everywhere has to be a part of